Hairless.
Hairless?
Yeah.
No, yes, the beard got trimmed a whole bunch, and I lost about 8 inches of hair. And oh yes, and my son was my daughter shaved the side over here.
Wow.
The girls had at me last week.
It looks cool.
Yeah. I'm a Ken doll. They dress me up. They pick my clothes. They do my hair. You know, I'm a Ken doll. Except I have a penis. I just want to put that out there.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome, Doc. All right. Well, I don't know where to go first. We're just kind of dry running things this week, anyways. I guess might as well start on format there, Doc. So yeah, Doc, I didn't feel like getting fully back into like setting up another group like the Regulators, and Friday chat. You know, while we did sometimes have topics, just was wandering a bit. So I kind of thought this sort of mix of the two would be a good idea every week. Is we'll collect news stories like we would for the Regulators, but just throw it to the group and whoever's hanging around. You know, so that's the theory at least.
That should work.
It's less work that way too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Let's prep.
Yeah, leaves more time to actually do the stuff. Yeah, do the stuff.
yeah, that whole work stuff. Impressive. Which I enjoy, anyways. You know, I don't think I won't speak for Terry, but I think over the years writing and Hangouts and the dojo and anything I did wasn't as much because I really wanted to, but you just don't want to leave the industry in the hands of some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, down
We'll just
here,
leave that there.
in the States, we tried leaving the politics in the hands of some people. You see how well that worked out for us.
Yes, I'm not even going there on that one. But yeah, things look like they're doing good. We're building a wall around Canada to keep the Americans in.
Yeah.
If Trump wins, we're expecting a bit of an influx here. So
Oh yeah.
we're building a wall.
I saw one by Adam Humphreys this morning on Facebook that I liked. It looks like we're going to have to burn the White House again if Trump gets in.
You don't say that. That's not a good thing to say on video.
Yeah, well.
There's a startup called Mashally that they're doing like search with sound. Really impressive. I signed up for an account yesterday, but they have like this application that they've built with their search, and it allows you to create mashups of Trump. And so like I don't know how they do it, but it's their search thing. But I got him saying, I mashed up him to say, what was it? I want an eagle to take my hair. and I called it, finally, a Trump talking point.
Think you're a little late with that.
The Trump talking app. I like it. All right, so let's see. Well, we're only 4 minutes in. We got a little time to relax. There's actually people watching. Well, I know Frank Watson's out there. Oh, I didn't even turn the Q&A thing on. See, I'm so out of this. I haven't done one of these in so long. My God. But I noticed a lot, speaking of news, I've noticed that since, we took a break, Terry may not be there, that a lot of the search Hangouts have disappeared.
Yep.
Like, people just aren't doing them anymore, and that's just bizarre. I know why. I know why I gave it up, but that was just because, we were doing podcasts before that. We were hard at it for 5 years, even before Hangouts were around. So, a little break in the action didn't hurt us any, I'm sure. But some of these guys, were around 6 months.
Not too many people even using Google Plus anymore for anything.
Oh, what are you talking about, dude?
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that at all, man. welcome to our world, dude. Google Plus has got oh my God, stuff. It's
doesn't it seem to be mostly technology stuff, though?
Yeah, it's marketers. If you're selling
which is fine, Sid. Yeah,
it's perfect.
Now there's also me. We're getting decent traffic for the cannabis space from Google Plus.
Really?
There we go.
Yeah.
Marketers and
Frank, I'm for sure you understand, because Frank, you've been hanging out with us since the beginning almost, and to me, a lot of times, I like to be able to go back. I like that the fact this goes right to my YouTube. And if I've had Deborah Mistaller on, or I've had Dan Thies on, or someone like that, and I'm doing something, I'll literally go back and listen to these things while I'm working or whatever, and go, oh, there's an idea. Oh, there's an idea. Or there, I like it just for the sense that I'm recording history in a sense, and I don't really, if people watch it or not, this is more for me because, so I guess it's who you have on these things as well. If you've got a good Rolodex.
Here's the tip.
Oh, yeah, and it's quite different.
We still have the Dojo stuff.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, I think it's just Frank's kids running around in the background there.
Oh,
No, I've muted the NCAA, which I'm just watching in the background. I've got no noise in my place. My kids besides are
Okay.
21 and 23.
Oh yeah, it's whoever else joined there. Somebody else joined. I think it's them. Yeah, okay.
Ah.
Frank, by the way, I gotta say, Frank, it's so nice to actually talk to you, man, because we've been on the boards and the forums for what, 10 years? I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah, at least. But longer.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, it's so good to finally hear your voice, man.
I can watch most probably like 2002, and then before that, Creator Side or whatever the hell that one was. The one that.
God damn, man, we're just the old people of search here.
Yeah. Hey, it keeps you young, mate. I tell you, it's always changing.
I was saying just before we went on the air that one of the Skype chat rooms I hang in is full of some of the newer generation, and they it's interesting. Like, there's other things I have hobbies in, music. I do some magic. I'm a guy that gets into lots of stuff. And I realized the other day that every other thing that I do as a hobby or that I spend my time on respects its history. Meaning, musicians think about the guitar player that came before them. Magicians think about the magician that came before them. Our industry, man, you walk into a Skype chat room with all these newer generations. They haven't got a clue who any of the old guys are. You know what I mean? And there's like people that predate me that I look up to, and nobody knows their history, these newer generation, it's just crazy.
No, I know.
That's
You
weird.
talk about Vince or you talk about any of the older algorithm changes, and they're going, huh? Yeah, it's like
Florida,
how the impact works and what was done to meet the changes. No one understands what the Google dance is.
Caffeine.
The Google dance. There's what I haven't heard in a while.
I want to DJ the Google dance. That's like a life goal, to DJ it.
Steve, I know you're a bit of a historian. Isn't Jagger one of the first named ones? Is it D out there? I remember. It's way back when, man. Yeah, see, people don't know their history.
There's one.
And your history teaches you the future.
Daytona, Phoenix. Right? Those are old ones. I mean, I don't know what they were. I just remember names, like cluttered digerati in the back of my head of what the names of the update are. What they were and what they were for, I really don't care. I still do the same shit I did 20 years ago.
Well, do you remember when we had like a zillion search engines? Hotbot and Lycos and
Alta Vista,
Yeah, exactly.
InfoSeek.
DMOZ.
Yeah.
And that's how Bruce Clay got his claim to fame. He had that, the mapping of all the relations.
Yeah, the
Oh, Bruce's.
No.
Things. Some infamous, but that's another.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, hell,
All right,
you got to remember the days when Disa was a man.
Yes. I remember the whole controversy about that. Remember when it first hit? Oh my God. That was dramatic. And Deesa is still a friend, you know what I mean? I still talk to Deesa.
I know, exactly.
A long time ago. It's a different person now. I blocked that out a long time ago. I'm just saying.
What was that? What was the social site Danny had? Spin. Remember those? Those days.
Spin, Friends, MySpace, Friendster.
2007, I think.
Shit, 2003, 2000, 1998, 1995. How far you want to? 1993.
Which is why social.
You know, Bill's not here, but even for me, like historically speaking, as a patent guy, I mean, I get a good insight on where things are always going to go because for the last 12, 14 years, I've been reading patents and watching the evolution. So when I see things that come out, I have a better, I might not use that, I'll probably use that or whatever, you know. Even as historically with patents and things like that, I find that knowing my history helps me understand where the future is.
Oh yeah, I mean exactly. What's going on now, as far as like their algorithm, where they were talking about the fact elements on a page and sort of counting how many facts you've got about a particular subject, you know, that the page is about. That, you know, that has a tie-in to like latent semantics and the associated terms to use. So I mean, even though they may not necessarily be using it absolutely now, it's something to start prepping for. Now that's the beauty of I like Bill's side, because he lays out the potential of these different patterns, and we can then, you know, start adding a little bit of those elements.
I even love the phrase you used there, that start planning for it, and I think that's something else that we have, that, you know, us old fellas we have, in the sense that we know not everything is adopted right away. Like HTTPS, you don't jump on the bandwagon. You know, active mobile pages, you know, AMP, you don't jump on that bandwagon right away. So many young people I meet are just like Google farts and they just get all excited. And I'm like, well, no, you just got to calm down, because history has taught us. Remember, it was, how many years was it going to be the year of mobile? Like 5 in a row? This is going to be the year of mobile. This is going to be the year of mobile. Okay, no. This is going to be the year of mobile. And I remember between 2008, maybe, you know, 2012 or something, it was always going to be the year of mobile, and then it finally came, but it didn't happen overnight. You know?
Well, and remember authorship markup too.
Well, and authorship went all over the place, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It came, it went sideways. Yeah, we'll never discount it. It's just tweet. Well, you know, how many things did disappear? Remember Google's real-time social search? That went down.
Yeah, that was. I was in Chicago when they first launched that. There was me, Ray Hoffman, Dave Naylor, Michael Gray. We were sitting there playing with it, and Ray did a whole thing of offering like freebie stuff to Disney just to see, you know, the interaction that she got from the kids that were there. You know, and all the potential of it being so badly screwed with that they took it down in about 4 days.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, so many people have that knee-jerk reaction, the younger folks, and they want to, like, they hit you up on Skype or wherever, Facebook, and start going, oh, Google announced this, what should we do? What should we do? Like someone asked, like, you know, that's how I got into the rank brain thing recently, was because someone asked me in one of these groups I'm in, you know, oh, should we change our this and that? Literally took Frank, and another thing I know Terry and I both hate is the newer generation tends to want to be spoon-fed instead of do their own homework.
Yeah.
And literally within the first hour of poking around, realized that Rank Brain has been, you know, in the works since, I'd say, about March or so last year. Far more rolled out somewhere around August, etc., etc. Point being is the person I was talking to, I explained this to them and said, well, if what you're doing now is working, just keep doing it, you know, because this has been in the mix for a while. This isn't new. Just because they talked about it last October just means it's the first time anyone paid any mind to it. Doesn't mean it's just, you know, that day that they ended up in, I think it was one of the financial journals, I don't remember which one, I think Fortune or somewhere, had interviewed a Google engineer. And so, but everyone acts like the day that article came out is the day that Google implemented it. And it's like, no.
Yeah, no,
you know, a little bit of homework and you...
Especially anything in Fortune or even the Wall Street Journal, you know that they're so far behind the curve that if you're reading it and thinking it's starting then, you know, you may as well move into another industry.
Look.
And sadly, but that's what happens. Sorry, Terry, go ahead.
In the end, their biggest problem is they don't do any future proofing at all. they're all into what works today. I'd rather work on what's going to work tomorrow, because today is already gone. So I'm working on what.
And that is something, Terry, that is so important in my situation, because with corporate clients that I have now, it takes you 6 months to get something into the works. So you know, future proofing and thinking ahead becomes even more important, because if I'm talking to my guy above me that I'm consulting to about an AMP or something, right? Then you got to be talking and getting their head. These guys are still catching up on like schema and stuff, right? Because it's a huge site, big corporate structure, takes a while to get through all the levels and the red tape and everything else. That you literally do actually, in my position, have to be ahead of the curve, because if I'm not already prepping them for it, it's not going to happen in 6 months when I need it.
And when you mentioned schema, that's the classic, because I mean, I talk to people and I go, so did you see this latest addition into categories and schema? And they go, schema? I go, wow. I got to go that far back now?
Dude, we're creating schema. If it's creating schema for companies. Specific to a company on schema.org. That's like something I did a couple weeks ago for somebody. I can't say what industry or nothing, but it's like, are you serious? Your industry doesn't have this particular schema written. Here's how it's to be written.
Yeah. No, I know, and that's it. I mean,
just go to Freebase and add it, and it adds it to schema.org. No big secrets there.
No, but you how to do it right to where it works. And
we consider
no secrets.
No, I mean
that's the whole thing, mate. It is a secret because the average person's got no clue. They haven't done their homework. They come along and they ask people like us, or they wait for someone to write about it, and and even then they go, and then forget about it. That's the thing. It's out there, but they just seem to. They want a WordPress plugin to take care of it.
Why would I do that? Why would Steve or I write about that? All we do is make it easier for everybody else. That's a suck.
I agree.
I'm not going to play it anymore. That's a suck.
But the thing is, no one came up to you with a secret handshake and gave you, okay, here's the door to schema. It was there, and you're smart enough to keep on top of things, so you know. So, yeah, you're not going to speak about it.
For SEO, that's always been my advantage. That's why I quit talking about it in public.
Good point.
All right. So since we're supposed to be talking a little bit of news, I thought Terry, hold on. Let me grab something here. So I didn't know what to make of this. Whoa. Oh, I closed it. Did I close that? No. Oh, there it is. Where is that screen sharing? Why aren't you working with this shit? So, Terry, I thought this was kind of funny in the sense that... Oh, there we go. Oh, my God. Terry, does that not sound look low to you?
It looks high to me.
I agree.
See, I thought the opposite. The way when this first came out, the way Google was talking about ranking, you remember any SEOs thought they should advise their small clients with non-fucking e-commerce sites to switch to HTTPS secure so they would get better rankings and bullshit like that. 25% seems low to me, which Google, when they see adoption rates of that low, I'll bet you that there's not much. We always, Terry, you and I always said there wasn't going to be much of a ranking boost, if anything, on this.
Right.
Literally, for anyone listening or watching in the future, our perspective has been simple. Google on its left hand tells you it wants that there's a ranking boost for making a faster site. And then Google in its right hand tells you to do a bunch of shit that's going to slow your site down. So literally, if you did both and listened to everything Google said, you'd break even. That's
okay, so David, I just was doing a pretty large project with pictures, right? So I'm trying to optimize this thing so it passes the frickin' Google test for speed. Now we're talking an e-commerce site that had literally over 100 calls, right, because of all the pictures. right? And
Yeah.
Google had me optimizing these pictures to the point where the client made me do them all over again because the quality was so freaking low. Okay? So, you know, now when anyone says they use the Google tool, I just say, yeah, okay, you waste your time. Don't bring me anything to do with it. Like, I don't want to know the scores.
No, but
it's all.
I gotta think. Yeah, but okay. Here's where my logic steps in. Here, hold on. Let me turn this thing off. Just since we're on the story. Here's where my logic steps in. Is that Google used to we used to fight Google. When Google would say something, we'd say fuck you. When Matt Cutts would put out a video, everyone would say, oh, do the opposite, etc., etc. And what I think Panda and Penguin and Manual Actions have finally had the effect Google wanted, which is SEOs and people that are in our world as marketers are literally eating everything they feed us. You know, instead of logically thinking about what ranks a site or what works, everyone's just eating what the fuck ever Google feeds us. You know, they tell you to do something, we jump. They say how high. You know, they say jump, we say how high. Not me, but a lot of SEOs, right? And that's what's getting silly. You know, go to HTTPS, go to mobile friendly, go to AMP, go to this, go to that, go to the and again, in these Skype groups and Facebook groups and things, literally like little children asking me, you know, oh, what do I do here? What do I do next? Google said this, Google said that. What do I do? And it's like, oh my God, you use your own fucking brain, figure it out through your analytics.
Yeah, here's the thing, Dave, right? Here's the thing, and I'm sure Steve will agree with me, and probably Doc and Frank as well. These people don't really know how things work.
No.
So Google can tell them any kind of shit, and because Google, it's swallowed in huge bites, like they're literally puking on their shit.
Yeah. Oh, and it's not just in the organic. I mean, I've been doing seasonal stuff for the Christmas industry, lights and stuff, and every year we get an ad rep who comes up with this latest thing that they're doing, and it costs $10 grand before I turn the thing off. You want to give them a shot, but it's just even in house they don't really have a clue about how their own product works efficiently. It's all to them about making money. The layout of a page now is all based on optimizing the clicks and the bid for clicks and things like that. So it's just Google's out for Google. They're not out there. That whole user experience thing is bullshit.
Everything they do is for Google. When they put out a free tool, they're looking to gain something from it.
Yeah, but guys.
That's their nice guy.
We always believe Google is the enemy. This is almost what I'm saying. Is that the new generation is jumping through the hoops that Google puts before them, whereas we would always question. If anything, we were 80% not believing in anything Google said, and and 80% believing what we believed from our own studies and whatever. The newer generation seems to just jump through every hoop.
Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff.
Thing, Dave, as far as that HTTPS goes, here's what really screwed that little thing. A lot of the people who implemented it took it off because their site actually went down in the rankings because they didn't know how to fucking set it up properly.
See, that's the thing. They blindly do it without thinking through, the efficient way of doing it and what conflicts they may have, and all of it. It's because they haven't been doing it long enough. They don't know, the old days where you'd, iframe in a something into HTTPS, it wouldn't load, and just all those little technical things that you learnt over time. They don't learn that. They want an out-of-the-box solution that has a plugin.
All right. Which brings me to my funniest news title of the week.
Like, that's just ignorant. That's just stupid shit. Like,
Terry, this was my favorite news. This was my favorite news title of the week in my collection.
Wow.
Sites impacted by penguin cannot request manual pay. Do you really have to tell people this? Come on. Really? Is that news? Like, seriously, if your readers want to know that, then they should just go get a job at McDonald's or something.
No, but that's
like, come on.
Yeah, you got to get. I like Jen. Yeah.
Hey,
No. Frank, this is not a judgment on Jen. This is a judgment on the fact that she is in tune with the industry better than I am. I got out of the news business. Okay, I got out of that business.
Yeah.
But if this kind of thing that are, and again, I'm part of Facebook and other groups full of young SEOs, and and these are the kind of questions that literally come up. So no, this is not a statement on Jen. This is a great site, and anyone watching, listening now or in the future, definitely put it on your feed reader if you have one of those archaic things. I do. But no, the fact that she feels the need to actually publish that tells you a lot about the current environment of the people in our industry.
I think it's true. It's having gone to a few things recently, and just with the younger, my daughter does. Not SEO. She actually runs social for Campbell's at NEC, and I came in, hung out with some of her tech people, her supposed SEOs, and oh my God, they just don't have they're 20-something and they've got no history of any long-term.
But like I said earlier, though, they're not studying the history. They're not. Again, my music and I play music. They don't understand. There's something about this that they think new is fresh and fresh is new, and
that's the problem.
They don't give credit. They they don't understand. It's like you ask the average person who Danny Sullivan is nowadays, and they've got no clue. And yet, for all of he managed to monetize things pretty well for himself, but he did.
Do you know what's already happened? Because I guess the high turnover in our industry, there are people who don't even know who Matt Cutts is.
Yeah,
he's been.
And he's only been
no, it happens. I'm not kidding you.
Matt is back.
Yeah. For like an industry that
sort of.
pretty much survive on looking at patterns is pretty stupid and not learn your history.
It's not really an industry. That's the problem. It's a fucking business. That's what it is. It's not an industry. It's a business, and there's a difference.
Okay.
That's
all sorts of industries.
That's why we can't agree on best practices, because every business is protecting their business, afraid that if it's not the way they do it, it's going to affect their business.
Oh, in some levels it does. Like especially, again, I hark back to the paid side. There are agencies that work on straight commission of the spend. Now that doesn't, they may as well just be working for AdWords because it doesn't matter to them, the conversion. I did a consulting job where I managed to increase the conversions that this one company got for less money, and the agency that hired me dropped me because I'd lost them commission. And I tried to tell them, hey, you bring it down low and then you bring the spend back up. You look better in the eyes of your client. They didn't give a shit. They're just about making money, just like Google. That
goes on for a long time. A lot of companies, when things are running well and conversion is good and everything, I've seen them. I've worked in some cases where I had a campaign working for the same company as another. We were in competition basically for the business. The other company actually ran really shitty campaigns that got a lot of clicks to make the bill higher. In the end, that's how I won the contract, by running a clean game, basically.
Exactly. It's just, and it's the agency model though. That's the thing. So you never, like you say, industry, they're never going to sit down and make, here's guidelines, here's rules of the game or standard procedures, because it cuts into they're making them.
Well, I think the other problem too is that a lot of agencies, particularly when they get larger, they're gonna attract an awful lot of youngsters that they're not professional. They're not consultants, you know, in terms of the ethical consultant. They're there. They're going to get paid on their success. You know, they breed this culture of revenue generation. If you're not generating revenue, then you're not going to stay here. And even the smaller agencies, eventually, if they start out trying to be ethical and productive for their clients, they realize they can't compete. They're going to get left in the dust, so they start to gravitate towards that same philosophy. You know, it's almost a never.
All right, well, I'm going to move the show along, boys. First week trying this. I thought this was interesting, and I think this almost brings us back to what we were just speaking about as far as how much do we trust what Google says. So Google, somebody asked them on Twitter and yada yada as the story goes, and Google says they don't understand text and images, which I find very suspect. The OCR technology, okay, the OCR, yeah, see, Steve's laughing already. Yeah, but no, do you see? You understand why I don't trust this, right, Steve? Okay.
What?
Okay, for any of those younger folks that we were talking about, Google has this thing called Google Books. Go check it out sometime. Another Google technology that came along after that and was patented, that's why we would know about it, is called page segmentation. And what page segmentation was based on is looking at the DOM structure, meaning a rendered page, and understanding that page in boilerplate terms. You know, what's a header, what's a navigation, what's a footer, what's a right and left column, and what's the content. Now, the patents I read on page segmentation always harken back in references to the OCR technologies they discovered through Google Books. Google Books was using the OCR to scan books, and the page segmentation came along because along that path they realized they had to understand titles, headings, paragraph breaks, and so on to understand a page. So for Google to turn around and say they don't use any kind of OCR on images, I think is kind of suspect and strange. And those of us that have been around for a while that don't believe everything Google says, I thought this was a news piece that made me go, weird. You know, so, you know, they're making a statement. And again, you know, this younger generation in our industry will just take this article, well, it's Barry Schwartz, it's Search Engine Roundtable, he talked to a Googler, so it must be true. You know, so I don't know. So anyone else thoughts? Do you think they use OCR on images or not?
Yeah,
I think they do when it's to their advantage.
The big difference is that question was in regards to the crawler, and the crawler definitely does not render anything. That was in the document that I talked about earlier that Doc posted. So
they're not getting.
It's not happening in the crawler. It's happening after indexation, and that's when they render the actual documents.
Yeah, actually, in the chat there, Steve's talking about something interesting. Because we've also got friends that work with the Google walkarounds, and they take pictures and all that good stuff. So we know they also use the image data as well, right, Steve? Is that what you're kind of intimating there? Yeah. Because we know they had the technology in place to use image data and stuff like that as well. So it just seems like a counterintuitive statement. And like you're saying, Terry, maybe they're doing the old Google thing where they're only answering that singular. They're not saying the broader picture.
Yeah, they're answering it in the terms of they're not using it as any sort of element in the algorithm for ranking. That type of angle.
No, that's not what they were saying. Sorry, Frank. They were saying that they don't use it. The crawler does not render anything. So, of course, it can't. The crawler cannot see text in an image.
Okay.
It was which just showed the SEO, right? That was that was asking the question. Again, didn't really know how things work.
How to frame the question.
How to frame the question, correct.
Anyways, Ammon. Hello, sir.
I'm just hoping that I haven't had a chance to set up at all. But I jumped in because I saw Elsie there, and I realised, look, isn't it sad that that's the days You can see the children there. Little did he know that one of them would grow up to be a social media manager.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
the shame is on the image thing.
Wait. Not if she's coding correctly, which I guarantee you she is.
On the image thing, it's one of those things.
Or it's great.
OCR was computationally efficient. It doesn't scale. You know Google, they're all about scale. OCR uses too much resources compared to what that could be doing instead. Google's main use for graphics cards and you know, using that kind of processing is in machine learning. Graphics cards are the tool in machine learning because of the number of cores being able to run so many different things at a time. The idea of being able to crawl text in images, yeah, it's possible, it's just not efficient, so they don't do it. And we know they don't do it because one of the ways we used to hide things was to put it in an image. You put that text in an image, Google does not know it's there unless you're stupid about how you name the image.
Let's maybe throw it at, yeah, exactly. Maybe a spam bot or something of a more granular level might use that kind of technology.
Google, see, I can see where the SEO might ask the question because Google does have that capability.
Like, do any of you guys do like a lot of work on YouTube? I can tell you for a fact, I don't care if it's music, image, or anything else, Google's technology for copyright shit over there is incredible.
Yeah.
Steve, you put your hand up there?
Yeah.
It's really hard to slip shit by their fucking algos over there, man. It is.
And also, their captioning, when you get their transcript, it's a lot better than most of the ones you find anywhere else.
Oh, really?
It's sure a lot better than it used to be.
But that's it. Nobody asked if Alphabet uses OCR.
No,
you know, some parts of the company will. Google, though, the search engine, doesn't. I don't think it scales well enough. I don't think there is enough benefit for them to be worth it in the long run either. However, I think there are times when
I would
they
agree
would consider
that
it.
totally,
I think
that it's a resource issue, and that there's, like you're saying, there's not enough benefit from that signal for the amount of resources it takes.
Yeah. The interesting thing
my-
would be to look at if an image was suddenly shared a lot, would they then be interested in just running on particular ones? So only on, you know, a meme goes hot or an image of a place goes hot, could it read the street name? You know, those kind of things. It might be something they have looked at, but I don't think it's in yet.
On a threshold level, again, you know, if it's spam or if it's benefit, it's a threshold.
I think
my
it
next
would be
piece
if
of news
this
is
image is
something that,
massively important.
our next piece of news today is something that Media Post Lori Sullivan came to me. Yes, I'm relevant again, boys. Somebody asked me my opinion.
Gotta love Lori.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so anyways, I thought this was interesting. So, see, it was last Friday. Google made some announcement that bloggers are now responsible for you know, products they review and shit like that. Now, this has been in the FTC for a while because I went back and the FTC change was about a year and a half ago, Terry, I think, something like that. And
really,
but so what I basically told her, but what used to happen, and I'll give an example. I had a client that, well, he was a dojo member, a friend of ours. Anyways, he came to me and Terry. Remember the brownies, Terry? Brownies. Anyways, so they had sent out a bunch of brownies to bloggers. Now they did not, and I talked to Matt Cutts about this one, the whole 9 yards, Ammon, because I really wouldn't, you know, I wanted to talk and say, listen, fuck you. Anyways, Ammon. Yes. Ammon's here. Yes, I know. It's so exciting. See, my wife even knows who you are. You are famous. Anyways, so, you know, he comes to us and he says, listen, we just got spanked by Google. And I was like, well, what happened? He's like, well, we sent out a bunch of product samples, brownies in this case, to a bunch of bloggers. Now, bloggers being what they are, linked back, instead of with a company name, they linked back with the word, you know, tasty brownies or awesome brownies or whatever. The anchor text was always something along those lines. And so that influx came in. Google shat on their fucking head. But at the end of the day, he hadn't done anything wrong per se. He did not ask for a link. He did not say give us a link. He just said, here, check out these brownies and write about them if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I kind of had it out with Matt. I was like, well, listen, man, I'm in this situation. I know about this situation. Nobody asked for a fucking link, and still you motherfuckers, you spanked them. And so funny enough, I think, Terry, that's when Matt came back with us. Well, first you got to be concerned about which blog it's on. If they're writing about duct tape in one post and fucking brownies the next, you might not want to be there, and so on and so on.
That's also when he mentioned that they had a history.
Yes, yeah. Well, okay, for all transparency, back in 2006, and I think this was 2010 when we were talking to Matt about this. Anyway, so back in 2006, some guy named Jim Boykin used to work on that site, so that should tell you enough. Enough said there. Okay.
You're lucky I don't have my camera. I can't get my Internet Marketing Ninjas shirt.
Anyways, so what I think about this news story is that, and Terry, I don't mind this at least, and to a degree, is that they've turned that microscope around on the bloggers, and that's what I tried to explain to Lori. I was like, okay, this is new. Products for links has always been a bad thing. Anybody with half a fucking brain's known this for a long, long fucking time. Mm-hmm. It's just the first time Google turned around and put it on the bloggers, which I think, Terry, they should have done originally. Again, don't put the onus on the marketer. Put it on the receiver. Put it on the receiving end. You know what I mean? Let them understand that, they have to put transparency at the bottom of that blog post saying, we did receive a product from this, but no way does that influence our writing and da-da-da, so on and so on. And make sure that the links are to a fucking company, not to, a keyword and shit like that.
To an extent,
the FCC puts it on the blogger more than they do the product, and Google puts it on the product.
And I think that's the way it should have always been with Google. Like, why spank us being trying to promote our shit? Because, again, this poor bastard, bloggers just know they should use keyword-rich anchors. He didn't. I read the emails he sent out to these people when he sent the product, and there was nothing about links anywhere. You know what I mean? They literally got in shit because of the way the bloggers linked to them.
Yeah. Disavow.
Yeah, big time.
Hey, look, the bottom line is, for a long time, those same laws were in place. They could have busted all kinds of people. They don't bust anybody. Bottom line. And
if you remember,
with
this was a thing that came into the news from the FTC changes to the regulations about a year ago.
Year and a half, 2 years ago. Yeah, it's about a year change, yeah.
So I think this is pretty much just Google updating to be in line with those statements. I don't think there's literally anything more to it than that. I think trying to read more than
that is exactly
when people try to read.
Yeah, Lori she thought it was news, and I pretty much told her the same thing you just said. That those of us in the know, this has been there for a long time. So.
Well, we'll see. Might be something written in the next couple of days. Turns out a lot of content.
It's one of those things, isn't it? If somebody has sent you something in the hopes that you will then blog and link about it, it doesn't matter whether they've actually asked or not. If you go along with it, it's still a bribe of a sort.
So what if I'm blogging for myself and it's a startup? One of my startups.
Yeah, then it's your decision whether to take that risk or not.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the onus being on the blogger.
I think the onus being on the blogger is a better way to go about it. I don't think the onus should be on the marketer.
And then you also have, it's like with investment stuff, like, the guy that does Mad Money. He goes, okay, conflict of interest, or, instead of whatever they say, I actually own these shares of this. So if you're going to blog something about a particular product, you should mention in it that, you're part of the startup. You're working on that. But, here's what I think about it, stand alone for my readers on this particular site.
Yeah.
But
what?
That would
Once upon a time when I was actually relevant in the industry, people would send me shit all the time from their new product or service. Yeah. And
I think I've been in the industry long enough to remember when that was.
I was always very honest with them. I told them, listen, If I like it, I'll write about it. If I don't, I won't. Because I don't want to cause you no grief. But I would never write about anything I didn't actually believe in. So.
Yeah, no, exactly.
All right. Go ahead.
Well, if I didn't like them, I might say something negative too, just for that reason.
Yes, we remember the regulars and you and Christopher Semper. We know it well.
But, yeah,
okay. This was actually this was in the news, and so I just want to put it out there because again, I have been I am somewhat in tune with the younger generation. Manual actions do not last forever, but can be reapplied. This is an interesting one, Terry, because I've actually had people come to me that were, I guess, near the end of their action. I've literally had a client that, while I was in negotiations with them for some forensic work, by the time I got paid, went to their Google Webmaster account, it was gone. I was like, okay. And I was like, dude, you don't have a manual action. And they're like, well, yeah, we did. We got. I was like, well, when did you get that? Well, about a year ago. And I'm like, okay, well. And yeah, this is actually a fact. And I know this from personal experience, not just from some Googler fucking saying it. Yeah, Google manual actions do actually disappear after time, which it could be good or bad. Like if you haven't been taking steps to correct it, then you probably want to get on it. But if you have been, I've seen it, again, just that one instance I'm talking about. They were working before me, and then while I was there, to correct the problems, and it never came back.
David, may I add this though?
David, I'm in trouble with my mom.
When you're looking at link building activity that caused a manual, a lot of the sites, when you go to check, are gone. Those sites are gone. They're out of the link graph because they've been shut down, right? I've seen literally 90% of backlinks gone where the sites just disappeared. So when they're gone out of the link graph, the penalty's gone, isn't it? So that stuff can happen, like again, do you really understand how these things work? And personally, I would rather get a manual penalty than get a penguin penalty. Because the penguin just sits there chomping on your ass forever.
Absolutely.
A manual is one and done. You fix it,
well, it's something you can address.
The activity, and you're okay. But with penguin, it's always there, biting on your bag. Ass.
And I think even again, I spent 5 years in forensics, and I think to a degree that why I agree with you is that the guideline, our understanding of what it takes to get it and what it takes to get out of a panda or a penguin. Like, you and I did forensics for fucking many years together, Terry. And I remember talking to Matt about that one site of yours. We had no idea that was a panda hit, did we?
No.
When
he told us how we learned about it.
It was only, when Matt told us that thing had a fucking panda hit, you and I, as experts in the forensic field, you and I had no idea.
I could not believe it. Like, literally.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah, but Matt literally said, that was a panda thing, and we were like, what the fuck? It was like, okay. So yeah, I think that those panda and penguin are a lot tougher to deal with than manuals.
Well, it's different.
They tell you fixed it. With panda and penguin, you never really know whether you fixed the problem or not. Because you may have only...
There's no feedback. There's no feedback, right? You don't have a communication. You don't have a platform to talk to Google about those.
And that's why...
Go ahead.
You clean up. But what happens, though, is, especially in a penguin situation, the certain websites are going to be downgraded themselves, so all of a sudden that link power that you were getting from them is gone, so you're dropping because of that. Then you've got, as Terry was saying, you've got places that aren't there anymore. They're gone, but you've got, it's that play. They still seem to have part of it cached in the results of your link profiles, even when we're managing it through Google, and some of that stuff's gone, but you've got that carryover of the anchor text impact on Penguin, and it's just the updates don't take place. You end up losing ranking, and then what a lot of people aren't doing is, well, you got to replace all that shit. Do it legitimately, but if you're not replacing it, you're not moving. Penguin banged you down, but and you do the cleanup. That doesn't automatically pop you back up because all of the things that helped you get up in the first place are gone now. And a lot of people
also,
seeing that.
Frank, not to cut you off, but the big thing is you've lost trust and authority. So now you have to work even harder. So getting even back the same amount of links with the same quality, you have to work harder.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. All this stuff happens, and then you think by getting rid of the offenders that you should pop back up. That it's all the stuff that the offenders were doing and the trust and all that stuff that you lose. That people aren't doing that. And you got to get back to square one again. And build and find good quality sites, create more internal content, etc., etc. You know the drill.
Yeah.
But they don't quite understand the whole mechanism. So they're just thinking, if I fix this, I should pop back up. Why am I popping back up? It's like, wow, you really just don't fully get it.
I also think that the algorithmic penalties, such as Panda and Penguin, and all the ones we don't know the names of, they're trickier because they're kind of threshold levels. And I don't think, a human decision is usually either yes or no. They don't rate it on a scale of 1 to 100. Whereas with threshold stuff, it's degrees. You've got degrees of Panda and Penguin, and yeah, you may take it down a bit, you may dial it up a bit, but I don't think you ever completely get rid of it.
No, I agree. Yes.
It's like you have a negative factor attached to you, kind of.
Partly, but I also think that Panda is probably at some level registering on half the sites on the internet, but it's at a low level and they've got enough good signals that overpower it. Yep. We've all seen sites where we go, how is that not hit by this penalty or that penalty, particularly?
Okay. So yeah, again, this is just a common theme today, which is a lack of knowledge and understanding. Again, there's scoring elements that we call ranking signals, and there are things called dampeners and boosters. Okay, so yeah, what you're saying essentially in my geek terms, Zaman, is that there's boosters and dampeners. Now, add on to that another thing that we know intrinsically, but we don't really understand ranking-wise, which would be authority. So, in my experience, again, from the forensic world, that those kind of hits are inherently going to cost you on a trust score, or which isn't probably the same as an authority thing, but you can build up around it. But I'd say there's probably a 12 to 18 month process of staying clean, meaning you're going to have a dampener of some form on your trust score in the ranking process. I would imagine something like that. I think it is recoverable over time, but my sense of it is that you're going to have some sort of a trust score hit for a given period of time.
Yeah. But it's amazing how tiny some of the factors can be. I wrote a post recently, Terry, I know you saw it, where I was talking about, the straw that broke the camel's back. And it can literally be like that. I saw a site, it had some terrible practices going on. It had, the old footer links when that was still a thing, but towards the end of the lifespan of that. And what broke the site was the fact that their 404s were not clean. They weren't giving 404s. The 404 page was there, but it was giving a 200. When you did a 404, you were getting a 301 to a 200. And that was telling Google that, all URLs are okay. There was no such thing as a page that didn't exist.
I've seen CMS's spit back a 500, so the page still renders to you, but Google's totally screwed.
Yeah.
500s are some of the worst errors you can get.
The thing was that simple thing tumbled the site from the results. And of course, everyone was looking at the footer links. That was something I'd expected to go. And all we did was fix that 404, and suddenly the site was back 2 days. Because it was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the one thing that just pushed them too far over on the thresholds. And for a quick fix, fixing that, yeah, they need to fix the rest as well, because there will be something else that triggers a threshold. But that was the thing that time.
Yeah.
You know what they say, it's not the 1,000-meter fall that kills you, it's the last inch.
Yeah. And that's something that I've looked at is how well a site is maintained. I think Webmaster Tools is part of trust myself, like what they see in there. For instance, that particular situation, if you were on top of things, Ammon, you would have seen that you had all these soft 404s in your
yeah, they only came to me when they dropped out of the results, because they were, this particular company had £10 million deal to sell the company on the table, and they dropped out of results 2 days before the end of negotiations. They paid triple to have me turn up next day. So my involvement with that site was 1 day.
Yeah, and kind of.
All right, so folks, just call 1-800-AMMON next time you Sorry, man, you're here. I got to pump you up. You know.
Hey,
my commission rate is now up to 15%.
But the other thing, Ammon, something similar was the case that Dave was talking about with the 500. They were pointing bad links at them. So you have these bad links. It looked like negative SEO, but they were doing it to themselves, basically.
But the problem is also with link cleanups. We know that the big difference in Google around 2008 was the number of links that they were pretty much completely ignoring. Most of your backlinks do nothing for you, one way or the other.
Correct.
When you're cleaning your links,
when the classifications of Hummingbird kicked in, it got even worse. Well, it depends. Again, I work for big brands, so it got better for us. But if you're a smaller guy, it got worse. Because, yeah, we were looking at query spaces with the reclassification of Hummingbird. And literally, you know, what, 200-300 links we're working at, Terry? I think something like that. There was some interesting. And then we're talking 2-word prime queries. You know, it was
people do link cleanups the way that they kind of, you know, make promises to God when things happen. Oh, I'll sort my life out. I'll do this. I'll do that. And you know, it's the one they don't say is the only one that matters. And it's like that when you're doing link cleanups. Forget those 1,000 dirty links that were worth nothing. Cleaning those up, well, you might as well, because they weren't doing you any good. But they probably weren't responsible for the penalty either. It was that one link you really don't want to lose from a good domain, but it was a little bit dodgy.
Well, that's also big on, you know, not only the web spam team. You know, I'm very intimate with the web spam team. Again, I knew Matt since 2006. We exchanged emails, and my life with Matt was always off the record. I never published any conversations I had with him. I'd share them with Terry and other people in a select few. But I do get the sense that history is always important. And I mean, I think if you have a history of fucking problems, they have a long fucking memory. And I think, well, yes, I agree with you that those things may not be a problem, but I think Google still, when they want to stick something up your ass, they're going to look at that history.
Absolutely.
I think they can handle bad links. It's the good ones that they have a problem with.
All right, so I've tried to track Bill down because I kind of wanted him for my story of the week, but move on anyways. Story of the week, I guess, really started in one of my Skype chat rooms with some younger folks that were all panicky about fucking rank brain. All right, so for those who don't know, rank brain came out. I almost made my own mistake there. We talked about this a bit before the show, and rank brain is something that they started talking about last October or so. At the time, this was a few months. I dug a bit further back, and odds are it looks like they started really implementing this around February, March of last year, so about a year ago. And the lament I was having, Evan, before you came in, Joe, was the usual shit. I really hadn't paid much attention to rank brain, and so somebody brought it up because of this wonderful Distilled article that is not a clickbaity title at all. Okay. Anyways, by the way, to which I'm not going to bring the page up now, but Barry Schwartz was reporting later this week. This was last Friday, this article, that someone asked a Googler, and the Googler said, no, was his only answer, 2 words. I loved it. It's got nothing to do with things. Anyways, so within about an hour of researching when I was asked this question, I came up with this. Okay, hold on. Let me give you this first. Let's go back. Okay, here's where it all started. Was this, really? A Bloomberg article. And in the Bloomberg article last October, someone asked a Googler, and the Googler said essentially
most important.
The whole concept. Well, no, he was saying, I'm going to find this because this is literally and this harkens back to a lot of discussions we had today about the youth of today. Listen to us, we're like old guys. Them new young fellas, them little young people, back in my day, we walked 20 miles in the snow to understand the Google patent. Anyway. Let me find it.
There's 2 things that have spawned this. One is the famous quote, rank brain is now the 3rd most important ranking signal, without saying what the first 2 are, and I teased him and said, yeah, number 1 is everything you get from putting a URL in, number 2 is everything else, and then comes rank brain. So it's one of those things, rank brain, yes, it's kind of important.
You're close friends with my buddy Bill, and we often think the same way. And within an hour, I found this project here called Word2Vec. And essentially, what Google has said about rank brain is that it takes words and turns them into vectors. Within about an hour, I found this whole project from Google called Word2Vec, which essentially does the same thing. So I guess my point being that, again, why does the new generation need to be spoon-fed? Why is there this fucking need to, literally, dude, it took me like half an hour to find this project. And it's essentially what rank brain does. It's turning words into vectors. So it's a semantic analysis approach. And to a degree,
my latest understanding is that rank brain is doing something a bit different. You remember what Hummingbird did? It put much more.
Yeah, well, no, but you gotta remember, right? Whoa. Rank brain.
Hold on, I'm not there.
Okay, but rank brain is a subset of Hummingbird. It's a subset of Hummingbird, though. It feeds into Hummingbird.
This is the AI bit that bolts on. Rank brain is allowed to run its own A/B testing on queries it can't quite work out.
Right.
Because Gary Illies has said,
I
think today there was a thing from Gary saying,
I'm going to send you that link. I'm going to send you that link to that Word2Vec thing, man. You've got to read it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're totally right. And I think, again, okay, there's 2, well, I think of many things, but along the lines of what you're saying, yeah, it's a correlation tool almost to an extent. It's looking at search quality in a correlation element. One of the engineers said something really interesting that I was telling Terry before the show. One of the guys who worked on this, and me and Bill, as soon as we read a patent, we research the guys who wrote it. So the same thing. When I approached this rank brain thing, I went and researched the guys right back to their fucking uni days and everything else. And it was interesting. One of the guys was saying that when he first came up with it, he went to whoever his superior was and said, look, this seems to be improving search quality in our limited testing, but I don't know why. And his boss said, well, don't worry about why. Just worry about if it's improving it. And then we'll go back later and figure out why it's improving search quality. You know what I mean? And that was basically the story the guy was telling. And I was like, well, that's kind of neat. So yeah, and again, from what I can tell, not in a generalized sense, but in a certain aspect, is that it's a semantic analysis tool. But instead of looking at semantic analysis in the word, like they used to do with phrase-based and other stuff, it's turning it into numbers. And so you can tweak the numbers a lot easier than you can tweak words. Words are very viscous, and so you can't really tweak them as easily algorithmically. Whereas this is turning words into numbers and putting it on a vector graph, which is much easier to tweak, much easier to implement and change, turn the dial, so to speak, right?
Yeah, and I think what's particularly interesting for RankBrain and what might have led to that third most important factor is, of course, by looking at what RankBrain did to improve a set of results, it's kind of giving them a training set to test on the bigger algorithm constantly.
Which is also in line with which is also in line to what Terry said before the show. It's in line with their desire to go towards artificial intelligence and that kind of like adaptive learning. Yeah, that makes more sense. It lends itself to that so much easier.
How are they
and machine intelligence get to make their own connections up. They can spot that when the thing does this, it tends to mean this, and full machine learning can make connections we would never have made as a human. The RankBrain version doesn't have the ability to add its own levers and dials. It can only use the measurements already in the algorithm, but it is allowed to tweak in real time. I
don't want to make it clear to folks that it from anything I've read so far, and I'm a guy who digs in this shit, it is a subset of Hummingbird. It feeds into Hummingbird. You know what I mean? It's Hummingbird still makes, again, scoring is a very limited thing these days, I find. That scoring is on a very primitive level, and everything after that is boosting and dampening. You know what I mean? And I know that a lot of people consider that to be semantics, but it's not. It's huge. Like you have dampening factors on authority, you have dampening factors on trust, you have boosting factors on bullshit like HTTPS, which could be that big. So who cares? But yeah, from what I understand, again, I've got a couple of weeks in on this shit, so I'm no expert, but it does seem like it's feeding into Hummingbird at the end of the day.
See, the question that I have is like what you were mentioning, where the guy said it's improving the search results, so let's not screw with it. How do they determine that it's improving the search results?
Frank, what I could tell from this project, it's almost a correlation factor. Consider this. Let's say semantic analysis in the way we've always known it, from phrase-based to other forms, to Markov models and bullshit, that was almost itself an analysis process. Whereas what RankBrain seemed to is almost tear that apart, put it into a numerical form, and compare that against click data, compare that against so on and so on, a correlation set to see if their semantic analysis and understanding of a concept on a page is working or not, and then dampen or boost based upon that. You know what I mean? RankBrain seems to almost be a step up in the world. Like I was reading, like the Google Research blog is a cool place to hang out, and they had a whole thing on there the other day about neuropsychological models and how we understand them. If we make the wrong assumption, the whole thing goes to shit. So the initial assumption on those algorithmic models is huge because you make one little misstep and everything goes to hell. And this almost seems like a check and a balance, I guess, maybe to put it that way. It seems like it's a check balance situation, whereas instead of trying to understand, like I was saying to Terry on Skype, I painted the White House with lower capitals on White House is totally different than saying I painted the White House with upper capitals on White House, because then you've painted the fucking White House. Yeah. So, but that same sentence can be taken by a semantic analysis situation very differently.
And you could also put terrorist sniffer.
Yeah, no, see, the thing that I was, the thing that, when they say this whole thing about the quality, obviously, and as you mentioned, there's a certain amount of the measurable is click-through rate, a certain amount would be how many times people go up and requalify the search. You know what I mean? That part of it is what I'm really not.
Again, I think this is almost more the reason the word rank is even in it, and I don't know why they chose that wording because that just makes SEOs go.
Yeah.
But think of it like your garden hose, right? And here's all the semantic analysis coming up the garden hose, right? And it's flowing out the end. And up till now, they've had classifications. They've had tokenisms, and as Terry likes to call it, they've had ways of classifying these concepts and entities and whatever. What I think RankBrain is that thumb on the end that focuses it and makes the stream come out in a finer focus and more powerful. And I think that's why rank is in the term. And I'm just hypothesis here. I have no fucking idea. I don't work for Google. So. Yeah. But I think it's that thumb on the end that takes all that semantic concepts and focuses it. Meaning that's where the dampener and that's where the dampener and the degrade. That's where they put value on that semantic analysis. That rank, because again, it's about words. Like that link I shared earlier, and I'll go put this in the chat actually. Go have a read through this, Frank. I'll put it in the chat here in the room. But I think what the concept might be, based upon what I've found so far, is that it's almost that thumb on the end of the fire hose. It's almost that function. By turning words into vectors, does what we're thinking with phrase-based, with Markov models, with latent semantics, does all this learning we've done here actually do anything? Is it improving search results? Is it having an end result? Because you got to remember, Amit Singhal was always big on search quality. I remember even talking to Matt, and he'd sit at the tables, and when they'd have their meetings and stuff, he felt like he was like the black sheep. That well, spam's great, but we want to, we care more about search results. And he always felt kind of that way. I knew it was a frustration of his. And this almost takes that sort of semantic thing and focuses it with a ranking score of some kind. Because you did to a degree in the semantic stuff. You had some elements you could dampen and boost on, but not a lot. I'm starting to wonder, the more I read, if RankBrain is geared towards that actual ranking element of that understanding of a page and the understanding of the words and the concepts and the phrases therein.
I think a large
stuff like page. Go ahead.
A large part of this is when search engines talk about ranking, they are literally talking about the order in which they return results, because you've got a set of results and then you rank them, and that's pretty much what RankBrain is doing. It's not adding any results into the list that wouldn't have been there otherwise, and well, I mean, it can be putting them above a threshold, but it's not adding anything into the index that's new. It's not.
Are they using contextual?
Whether it's relevant or not.
Are they using contextual information on that they've gathered on a particular searcher? Are they using the device that's being used to give them an indicator of what to because you see that now. If you're using and you put in pizza.
Consider the very beginning. Consider the beginning of this Word2Vec project. The Word2Vec tool takes corpus as an input and produces word vectors as an output. It first constructs a vocabulary from the training text data and then learns, boys, big word there, learns vector representation of the words. The resulting word vector file can then be used as a feature in many natural language processing and machine learning applications. So again, it seems to be, going beyond what we would consider traditional semantic analysis of a page and the words on it. It's actually giving value representation, which leads you to scoring elements like boosting and dampening, right? So I don't know.
That's kind of how Google's been dealing with term vectors for a long time now. So that part isn't
right. But again, you're talking more phrases and concepts and supporting for relating
actual word vectors. I first came up with that when we were discussing theme analysis back in 2009. Google were already using word vectors.
Sure, for sure.
So
for sure.
It is a core part.
I would venture back to the Anna Patterson days, 2003. Google bought it in 2004. You remember she had Cool? You remember she left? She took the whole phrase-based thing and she left fucking Google and started Cool with CUIL, I believe it was.
Yep. It's funny. It's the second time that's come up this month, and I haven't heard of Cool in years. And then twice
no,
a month.
I've heard.
Well, there you go, buddy. Just for you.
One of the things that I thought was interesting, not to mention what I read this morning in the paper, that Doc dropped in the thing from the guy who's like the ranking guy for Google. His job is to write code that re-ranks stuff in the results. His paper, that slide deck, was so interesting because it showed exactly how that system works. And, you know, I agree with what you're saying, Dave, but I think that's earlier in the process than it's probably related and the back end to RankBrain. But I agree with Ammon that from the little bit that I've read, RankBrain seems to be about testing the results and trying to keep them as relevant as possible at all times.
Okay, so back to my concept of correlation, right? You know, and again, we can take what a Googler says, positive or negative, but Jen went out and she found someone, at least a comment from Google, and, you know, so there you go. RankBrain does not impact the site's crawl budget. Well, which stands to reason, because the initial crawl doesn't have anything to do with these kind of things, right?
Well, exactly.
You know,
RankBrain
this is an after process.
RankBrain happens at the point of query, not at the point of indexing, not at the point of storing. You know, it's one of those last phase elements.
Right. Exactly. And that lends more evidence to the concept that this is a, you know, you know, and again, I don't think Panda's at the time of crawl. I think Panda is something that's run shortly thereafter. It's just not a monthly update. It's, you know, but I think RankBrain is along the same line.
Now and then they have a dance. I think it's run like it and Penguin running all the time. Then they have something that's like a refresh. They're now called Phantom because nobody really knows what the hell they're doing because they won't name it.
There's too many things to explain at once.
But you see, what I find interesting is when these things happen, at the same time, companies that I knew were heavy on, let's say, I call them proactive link builders. Let's put it that way. They suffered at the same time that everyone's talking about these phantoms, and I, who haven't built a link, you know, literally years, boom, we double our rankings on the front page. 3 months later, we're going down and they're all going up.
But at least you rode that 3-month wave. They're always fun.
Yeah, but I'm consistent. My rankings and the traffic are at least consistent. If I really started to build links, and where I found it really helped was when I build links, I'm looking for local citations because it's a local business. I don't care about the other stuff really. So I'm looking for citations that are correlate, you know, from the area.
Dude, I don't build links. I attract them. I have clients that have PR teams and content teams and social teams, and I find as long as I align them all properly together, links build themselves. They, you know, I haven't worried about that in a while.
A lot of people approach link building a bit like the old celebrity endorsement stuff, you know, where you see some celebrity saying, "Oh, I use that," and you know for a fact they never touch it. Not only that, this celebrity has never seen a shop. They have an assistant do that for them. You know, they don't do this. And they're always chasing the big name kind of links or the links they think are going to carry a lot of weight because everyone's heard of this thing or that thing. And there's no actual relationship there. You know, links are not about the code. They're about the symbolism. They're about the meaning behind the link in the first place.
I'm just going to keep adding this conversation because it's just what I do. But according to an article from last fall, hold on, let me dig this up. According to Google, take it for what you will, young people. But rank brain has become the third most important signal contributing to the result of a search query. Now, see that's at Google speak, isn't it, Ammon?
Exactly.
Okay,
and
young
as
people,
I say, the first.
We're gonna take this one sentence here, young folks, and teach you how to do SEO. Rank brain has become the third most important signal contributing to the result of a search query. Now, that does not scream ranking factor. That says contributing, meaning it's a post-analysis. It's post-analysis signal.
And this is exactly where the SEO echo chamber comes in, because I saw that misquoted so many times as he said it's the third most important ranking factor. Literally,
which is not what he's saying. That is not what he's saying.
Exact phrase, and you'll find article after article saying that that's what he said. And of
really,
course,
see, I didn't do that much homework yet. No, he did not. He said contributed. That is a huge word in there.
Yeah.
Contributing to the result, which means it's more than likely what we've been talking about is it's an analysis element, not a fucking scoring element.
It's a dashboard. It's a ranking, categorization criterion, sort by classification with. It's a database about websites. Yeah. Curation. There we go.
Contributing means post-analysis. To me, contributing result to the result means post-analysis. Again, let's do the math here. Do the math here. One guy said it's not at crawl time. Okay, if it's not at crawl time, we know right away that it's post.
I heard from anonymous sources that even that was a slight misquote of what he'd actually said, and I think he was saying that machine learning, including other things as well as rank brain, was the third most important. So, I mean, Hummingbird can be said to be doing exactly the same thing. It's contributing massively to the result.
Let's look at two down from that. Rank brain is mainly used to interpret searches that people submit to find pages. So again, this is almost Hummingbird. It's interpreting concepts. It's not scoring on its own per se. Again, which leads me to believe that it's a dampening and boosting type of effect.
It seems to be, from that wording, my first thought would be it's looking more at synonyms than usual. It's putting the synonyms
semantic analysis. Let's leave it there, because I swear to goddamn it, I will have to smack you, but you know how the younger generation will take that statement. Okay. Watch your words, too. You'll never get a job at Google. You got to talk ambiguously, man. But yeah, no, I agree.
I can tell you how rank brain is from the fact that of all the questions we submitted for the next Google Talk that we got next week, rank brain was the one where we said, that's the one I don't know I'm going to be able to say anything that hasn't already been said.
There you go. By the way, folks, this isn't for you guys, but for anyone watching now or later, Google told us that their gradual rollout rank brain in early 2015. So again, this thing's almost a year old. So for any of you young folks out there that are going to ask me that stupid question about, oh my God, what's rank brain? What should I change? I'm going to tell you right now. If what you're doing is working, don't change a damn thing, because it's been out there for a year. In the story, like this is an anecdote to me, Ammon. This is an anecdote, really, because my clients still keep growing month over month. So whatever the fuck I'm doing is working. I don't need to obsess about names. Even names, and I'm a geek. I hate to say it, but don't obsess over the word page rank. Don't obsess over the phrase semantic analysis. Don't obsess over rank brain. Don't obsess about any of this. What's your analytics telling you? Are you making more money? Are you ranking higher? Are you getting more traffic? Happy days. Don't change the thing.
Yeah. But you've got to be running some sort of test environment independent of your main big brand site to see if you can tweak things to make it go higher, or what can reduce it. Otherwise,
sure, dude.
Otherwise, you're waiting around for something to happen.
And I don't want to go to the old Google bullshit of do what makes users happy, but literally, IAB split test and multivariate split test my clients. And if they're making more money on that page, I could care less. As long as the Google rankings don't drop through the floor, which they never do. What I mean? At the end of the day, I'm really trying to satisfy the people above me in the chain, and which is usually C-level in my world. And as long as there's still more revenues coming in and more profit being made, nobody cares, and I get paid. So.
Exactly.
So yeah, and unfortunately, like, so many people are just sort of catching this rank brain thing now, and it's a year old. It's like pathetic. What you're doing is working. Stick to it.
Well, I mean, there's a set of practices. There's a set of SEO practices that we assume are commonplace, which is your base SEO audit, and the places you look first, because those are the criterion on which Google Search Console or Google Webmaster Tools, what it used to be, is going to judge your website, and that may or may not impact your listing in Google, but if you get everything right there, then that helps a lot. Am I wrong?
Oh, no, for sure. One of the first things I hook up with every client I have, if they're, if I'm in there in the short-term consulting or if I'm there full-time, is a monthly reporting set. You know what I mean? It's a combination of GA, analytics, and a combination of Webmaster Tools.
Yeah.
That becomes your base set. And so many things, you could see problems coming so far ahead if you do that every month or every, couple, twice a month or at least every month. You're 1,000 miles ahead of the competition if you're watching, because I've worked for some, Fortune 500s and shit like you do, and most people don't pay attention to that, and it's unfortunate, because you can see a lot of trouble coming ahead of time. So.
Yeah, I must admit, I still like to dig into actual logs, server logs, regularly, and keep an eye on those and the differences that are coming up there.
It's funny, a lot of people don't record those log files anymore. They still rely on their analytics to do it for them.
That seems.
How many times you pick up a corporate client and ask if there's any kind of fucking change logs from the development team, and it's not to be had? Like, if you had to do past analysis on changes to the website, it's not available, and that is crazy. Like, that's like total insanity to me.
Well,
and if you're a programmer, you don't have a rollback. What the hell?
Well, actually, more than one of my clients. Yeah. What's their best chance to succeed? Give me the information I need to make those decisions. Am I wrong?
Right. Yeah. I want to know if somebody. I'm so bad. I want to know if a programmer went in because someone told him to and added a apostrophe, exclamation mark instead of a period. I want to fucking know it. Like, literally, I want to know everything. Like, any page, any changes made anywhere, I want to know it, so that if I got to do analysis, I have all the information.
Right.
Dates to work off of. That's important.
The one decent thing about that is, nowadays, any sort of serious programmer keeps better track of their changes than most online marketing people. They want, when they add that comma to their stuff, you know it, and they know it because they want to know, Whereas marketers make changes and aren't keeping direct track of weekly impacts of numbers and everything else. They're just they're looking at limited.
Frank, I got a corporate client right now that is making major fucking changes to their navigation, internal link structure, etc., right? And I'm begging to get access to the dev server before it goes live, so at least I can look at it and make recommendations so I can cover my ass or whatever and help them. And I can't. Why? Because the programmers, the dev team is so sensitive about their work that apparently I can look at it before it goes live. It's like, oh my fucking god! I'm like,
yeah. Well, it's that exactly. They are rather protective at times too. I remember back to like 2003 when I was working at FXCM. We had a meeting every Friday for 3 weeks between the programmers and the marketing department. And it took to the third week for me to realize that they were talking about using the same terminology, but from different perspectives. So middleware to them was like a CMS for the marketing people, but it was middleware for software platforms for the programming people. So that sort of stuff happens. There are different thought processes depending on where you work in the online world. If you're a programmer, you're different to someone that's doing marketing largely, unless you've got a programming background before you get there.
I think, you know what I mean? I've worked in corporate for so long that I think it's just an endemic protectionism that each department has. That any kind of critique that they actually think they might lose their fucking job or something, and it's like, it comes against the common goal, which is to make the whole corporation make more money, which means we all keep our jobs and get raises. You know what I mean? And even the people I talk to that are above me as a consultant, I'm always like, all we have to do is make the fucking C-level more money, and they love us. Because that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And I constantly run into that brick wall of getting one department to work with the other department, if it's social or dev team or whoever. It's constantly this battle of one thinking that they're fighting against each other as opposed to working together as a team. And getting that kind of symmetry going on is tough. That is tough.
Well, the fact that you look at the agencies and they divide it down between, there's an SEO department, a paid search department, a social media department, and those people don't have regular meetings to compare things and take advantage of the equal. Because I find that the paid search stuff, the ads that I create that get high click-through rate that not necessarily convert well, that I pull down, I hand those off and use them in the SEO descriptions because I know that they'll increase, just general click-through rate. So, but they
see, my biggest corporate client, the guy they put in charge of the SEO department, literally came from the email world, meaning click-through rates and conversion rates and everything else. I think it's quite interesting because I'm educating him as we go, but he has the understanding that the revenue is king, that conversion rates are king. And that's the way I think. Terry's the one who gave me that ability. When I met Terry, I was esoteric. I was like fucking, I just care about rankings. Then I met Terry, and all I care about now is revenues and profits. And, that's what keeps me in my job. Thank you, Terry.
I've gone from being a purist SEO to just like, it's all about the conversion. It's about,
Well, no, everyone's job. Because if you're not making, if I'm charging $2,000 a month, I better be making them $4,000 a month and more, and so on.
Yeah. No, exactly. I agree. And unfortunately, with the way that things are going, you get certain areas are obsessed on certain numbers. Like the rankings, and that's, beyond the rankings, it's what you rank for and how it converts, as opposed to the bullshit people that love that brand ranking. I'm there for my name and this and that. It's like, does that make you any money?
If you're telling
vanity searches. Yeah, I remember Terry and I were working with Auto Trader, and I'm not going to say which one because they're actually owned by different people, so don't confidentially give it up there. But one day they wanted to rank for what was it? Used Ford something, right, Terry? Wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
And the
used. I would have understood used. They wanted to be found for Ford Taurus.
The Taurus, that's what it was. And literally, the word came down from the sea level that they wanted to rank #1 for Ford Taurus. And if you think you're beating Ford for that term, good luck. It was like, exactly. And we literally had to try and educate them on that concept. That you're not going to beat Ford on their own brand. Like, where's your head at? Like, attack the problem from the sides. Don't attack it from straight. Not going to get there.
Also, common sense. is Google. How does Google feel when someone searches for a brand like Ford and it's not number one? They know they've already lost the trust of.
Well, you remember at the time when they started even going the used route, Ford itself had registered a domain was usedford.com. And so again, you're not gonna usurp them. You're not gonna overtake them. It's just like you want to be number 4 or 5. That's great, but don't bark at your SEO team because you can't outrank Ford for their own fucking term. Get a fucking life, you know.
Did you see the thing that was posted? And I just saw this in the last week or so, maybe a little bit longer, where you do a search in Google for sheets, and the first 3 listings are Google Sheets, as opposed to somewhere where you can buy some goddamn bed sheets. How the hell's
Yeah, but again, when I see something like that, then I have to think laterally. You know what I mean? You're not like, don't bang your head against the wall. Like when you look at a SERP, and again, that's another thing back when I met Terry fucking 6 years ago that he taught me, which was bang your head against the wall. When you're up against, you learn SERP. I think that's one of the greatest talents that we don't hear about anymore. And I've never seen an article written about it ever, I don't think, Terry, which means you probably did. But is that SERP analysis is everything. Look at the queries. Don't. The first thing everyone ever does is they get a keyword in their phrase or whatever the fuck in their head, and they go to a keyword tool, and they go to this and that, and that. They never just actually type it into Google and look at what you're up against. That's where you got to start. You know, if you don't start there, you're an idiot.
Exactly.
Because you got to look at that SERP and say, is this somewhere we can actually get to, or are we wasting money and time fucking trying to attack it? Fuck that.
But
Still
also,
say art of war. Go outside, you know.
The big thing there is when you just get links, you don't realize that video is actually number 1, and that's the easiest way to get there. Or a news story is the easiest way to get above the fold. You know, it's all about goals and.
Yeah, exactly. But you gotta know that the news uni is going to be temporal. It's going to disappear pretty quick. Whereas the video uni is going to hold on for a while when they have nothing in between. Like essentially, for anyone listening, watching, news is affected by what we call the QDF, query deserves freshness, which means if we're Canadians, so I'm going to use the Stanley Cup as an example. So Stanley Cup between March and June is going to be affected heavily by news universals because that's what's happening. But in August, not so much. So it's going to be less. Whereas a video universal is kind of consistent. It'll rise up and down depending on the temporality, but it'll always be there somewhere in the top 10. You know? So your approach to and again, folks, I said this to someone the other day. And it's actually, a search engine is anywhere people put in a query that has the word search beside the box. So that could be YouTube, it could be fucking Amazon, it could be fucking Google, it could be Facebook, it could be Twitter. You need to understand that your job as a search engine optimizer is you're not a fucking Google optimizer. You have to look at the entire internet and anywhere there's a search box, figure out how things are ranked. And I think, Damon, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the new generation are Google optimizers. They're not search engine optimizers.
I think there's always been this problem that most SEOs, and particularly the ones that struggle, focus on the engine instead of remembering the part that we are really doing. And I know Terry agrees with me 100% here. We are focusing for search users. The engine is just the tool in the middle. And if you've been in the game long enough, you've seen the engines change often enough that you never forget that.
Yeah, you know, some of my clients, I learned from competitive analysis that Pinterest is good. The next client, Pinterest not so much. So what search engine I'm focusing on depends on the space I'm in, depends on the client I have, depends on the resources I have to work with. But I don't limit myself to Google or anything else. Where are people finding, revenues? And where is there a search engine that I can understand that from? I don't care if it's Facebook, Facebook search algorithm stuff, but whatever. I just think people focus too much on just Google.
And people do forget the human element so much. And you know, everything you're going to do is focused on that. I was talking with somebody today. We were talking about a hobby site, and he was saying, you know, that the length of time required for purchases isn't just about price. He found that when he's doing office supplies, the decisions are often in minutes, certainly, you know, 1-2 visits most. When it's hobby stuff, it can be anything from 7 to 17 visits. And I said, exactly what we're talking about.
Right, they're collectors. So okay, I'm just because I think I understand you, but I'm just doing this for anyone who watches this. So to explain what you're saying is that you know your demographic. Yeah, you have to know our collectors are people that are going to research more as opposed to impulse buy.
Yeah, and the levels, you know, what he was saying, if he was comparing apples to oranges here and looking at the traffic between the two different sites, he'd say, oh look, the office supplies site is doing much better because it's converting in 2 visits. And it's not. It's simply that they're completely different markets. When you are a hobby buyer, you want a product, you tend to buy higher. You don't tend to be influenced by price as much in that as most things. You're more likely to buy a good quality thing because it's a passion.
Can I ask you for everybody, including myself, do you set up custom reports and stuff in analytics to be able to track those kind of nuances? Or?
Partly it is going through the logs. Partly it's simply.
I guess what I'm saying.
The market.
Where do you get? What I'm saying, I guess, is where do you get your intelligence to discern which traffic resources are the most profitable? How do you establish that?
There's one word that sums it all up: observation. Now, how you're getting the data to observe is a matter of personal choice. But observation. Now, sometimes you rely on others. You ask the salespeople in the teams and the customer service people in the teams for their observations, and you take.
Okay, but I'm gonna ask you because you're really awesome right now. No, seriously, because you just mentioned something I believe in. So going back to your last point, so you believe that the tools a marketer uses need to be something they understand. Don't just use some tool because you went to a Facebook group and asked and someone said to use it. If you don't feel comfortable with that data, then find somewhere that you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I've seen companies.
You walked right by it, and I think that's a very important point.
I've seen companies almost crippled by really good SEO reports that just were not suited to them. It put all these numbers in front of them that almost gave them this, choice paralysis. There was so much going on, they couldn't seem to focus on anything, or it put the wrong metrics first, so they ended up, chasing their tails.
Yep.
But the really interesting thing about any kind of hobby site or passion site is that the market changes over time. Most businesses, you have your best months, sort of Christmas. You get more purchases on that kind of site over Christmas, but they'll all be lower ticket items because this is suddenly the relatives, the people not personally invested in the things. They buy on price. Your cheapest items you'll sell more in the 2 months around Christmas than the rest of the year.
Yep. No, I've seen that all the time.
And this is why, at the end of the day, your analytics alone don't work unless you also understand the context of the business itself and the business customers. What are they thinking? What are the numbers telling you?
Right. Yeah,
what device are they on?
Yesterday was having a conversation about almost just this, right? And it goes back to the way I look at it is my job has 3 parts. Number 1 is figuring out what people have to come to the website. 2, when they get to the website, directing them to the product. And the 3rd step, and most important, is them actually buying it. So putting it in a way that they're going to buy. That's my job. And that varies from site to site. My job is only getting traffic if they're monetized for ad revenue, right? How many people see it, right? Yeah. So it's all, again, contextual. It all depends what the goals of the website are. And that's another thing. I don't think people really look at that anymore. To me, that's where I start. What's your goal? What do you want to sell? What do you have to sell today?
I think the thing I never see people talk about, and it's the one I use as a kind of rule of thumb, is investment. How is your customer invested in this? And where we see very long times of consideration before conversion, where your site may not convert on its own, they're going to ask friends.
But even the goals, like, you know, I walk in the door on some gigs lately, you know, with big corporate clients and everything else. Are their goals even in line with how they're doing things? And I swear to God, most of the time it's not. It's a haphazard sort of approach, and the goals aren't normally in line with the strategy, you know. And I think that, I always hear Terry in the back of my head, even after all these years when I'm on my own now. And I hear him yelling, "Run away! Run away!" And I'm like, okay, no, I'm like a guy in a bad relationship going, no, I know I can fix them. I really like them. We can make this better. And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But understanding what the goals of the corporation are right out of the gate is huge. You know what I mean? Because, you know, most of the time they're not probably aligned well with it, because they wouldn't be calling me in otherwise. But, you know, it's that process of can you actually get there, and what is it you're working towards? It goes back to that whole keyword discussion. I don't think about keywords per se anymore. I think about products and eyes and traffic and conversions. And, you know what I mean? That's the road I take. And I have, you know, I saw some article by Jason Demers. Why is he writing for Search Engine Land, by the way? I don't know. Oh, Danny's getting desperate. Anyways, Jason was writing over there that, yeah, SEO is dead, which he always does. That's what he used to do. Where was he? The Financial Times? I don't know where he used to write. Anyways. And he's always got this. What was it?
I think the Financial Times, but also Fortune. Yeah, Fortune.
Yeah, that's what it was, Fortune. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, and I remember I was over there, and he's still doing the same shit on Search Engine Land, and he's like, it's all semantics, and it's all just part of it. And I was like, I know this guy has been around for a while, so I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck are you talking about? Because he's like, well, it's all process. It's just an integrated thing now in 2016. It's social plus content plus, and I'm thinking, well, it's always been that. You know, we didn't call it social 10 years ago. It was about the PR department and, you know, whatever, and so on, you know, outreach to fucking, you know, journalistic elements. I'm just thinking, what the fuck are you talking about?
LinkedIn forums, you know, there's always an engagement platform somewhere. And now it's, you know, it's been labeled the social media. But, you know, the bulletin boards before the web even came along.
Yeah, news groups. It used to be news groups, then it was forums, and then, you know, so what? Just new shit, different pile, right?
Exactly. You know, big conversations in the comment sections of places like Mars and things like that, or like you were saying, hobby boards for God knows what. You know, I mean, it's just moved. You know, the move to Twitter.
And then bloggers and so on and so on.
Yeah. It's just a way of, you know, alerting people that have similar tastes or whatever, and here's a place to go. Check this out, type thing. Just, you know, go back to Yahoo being, you know, here's what's cool. Way back.
Yeah, oh God. Ken, I don't know why I do this. Why am I here? Why am I doing this again? Shut up, Hammond. I was happy in my hole for the last 6 months, you know.
What, being irrelevant? Was that the irrelevant song?
Yeah, I know. I could live with that, man. Being relevant was taxing, very taxing, because, you know, I haven't been asked to be in a group interview in like 20 minutes. No, like a couple of months. But yeah. I don't know, guys. You know, I'm ready to kill this thing because we're on the 2-hour mark. But we'll, you know, keep talking. But
I got a question. Quora.
All right.
Has anyone? I mean, my God, talk about a place for misinformation. It's just the thing is now.
No. Then you're totally using it wrong. Quora
Okay.
is the new. No. Quora is my new Yahoo Answers. Quora is my new. What I do with Quora is set up alerts and shit through my buzz monitoring crap.
Yeah.
And with my clients, I've got some in the weightlifting field. I've got some in the automotive industry, and so on and so on. What I do is I monitor those for common questions. Okay, so what I have is like a tripod. I have the customer service team, and I make them the company give me all that shit. I have the fucking sales team, which gives me Terry. What's the phrase? Objections to the sale, right?
Yeah.
Rebuttal.
Yeah. So I have the customer service team to tell me what kind of questions they're getting. I have the sales team to give me objections to the sale, and then my third prong on that fucking tripod is stuff like Quora Yahoo Answers, meaning commonly asked questions. This is the basis, the beginning of my content programs. And I'm not talking FAQs. I'm talking blog posts and videos and whatever. These become, because, I try to teach my clients the same thing as I believe, is that I'm too close to understand. You know what I mean? I consider, go back to my music analogy, and I play music and this and that, and I play in bars and whatever, and I don't assume that I know what people want to hear. You have to actually go out and talk to the crowd and ask them what they want to hear. What kind of music they like. And so I look at it in that same sort of vein, in the sense that my three-pronged approach to content is based upon the things that human beings, or the people in my client's market actually want to know about. What are they interested in? What do they talk about? And I don't really monitor social as much because I think those are fleeting. I find that the sales team, the customer service team, and places like Horne and Yahoo Answers are the people that actually go beyond social to ask real questions. And that's where I start to begin formulating a content strategy. You know what I mean? Where I start to begin to formulate a content program. And at the end of the day, because the authority my clients have, becomes my link building program, because I don't have to build links, I attract them, so fuck it. Just write about things people want to talk about, and you will find those answers. Because you always look for fresh knowledge.
All the stuff in there that dealing with marketing is just so much crap. I try to go in, I got trapped in the vortex of answering questions.
But the problem the problem is, to me at least, is again, I'm not egotistical. I used to, well, I am. But yeah, my wife just yelled, "You are." That's funny. Anyways, but in my work at least, I don't pretend I know. I don't pretend I understand. Even though some of my clients I've been with years, world changes, so I don't pretend to be on top of things. I look for answers elsewhere. I look for the knowledge elsewhere. I look for where I should go next from elsewhere. I don't pretend I know, and I definitely don't ask my clients, because my clients are so close to it that they don't see either what the actual people in their market are talking about and what they're doing, what they're interested in, and what they want to know. I fuck the client because he's useless. He's so close to it he can never know.
Yeah, and that jargonistic as well.
So I build up sales teams, customer service teams, and Quora and stuff like that. Quora is one of my best. Do a site search, right? Take a topic, like if it's protein supplements, let's say.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's one of my clients. So I'll put that into Quora on the site search into Google, because Quora search engine sucks shit. So don't use Quora search engine. Literally put it into a site : Quora.com, and then put your term in, and over time you will build out. You got to give it at least a couple of weeks minimum. You will build out what are the most common questions that need answering, that people are asking. What do they want to know about? And that helps to develop your content strategy, from FAQs to evergreen, which is guides and shit like that, to your blog.
In that regard, okay. Because you're looking at more the questions, the popularity of questions that come in, as opposed
No,
to...
I'm not looking for questions. No, I'm not looking for questions. But no, Frank, I'm not looking for questions. I'm looking for what do people want to know about. I'm looking for what do I need to answer. What are the answers I need to give? I don't care about the questions, because if you do what I do enough times, you'll learn that the questions are always somewhat ambiguous and they sort of move all over the map. So you can't take a question per se. What you need to do is correlate the questions and then look to supply those answers.
So you're looking at the answers,
and it could be, and that could be in video format. That could be in video format. That could be in topics you bring up on your social team. You know, maybe you're, you know, like I'll even grade them. Meaning, this is an A-level question. This is a B-level question. This is a A-level topic. This is a B-level topic. This is a C-level topic based on my research from those three prongs, right?
Okay. No.
And now, so what I'll do with that is the C-level thing. I'll probably throw to the social team. Say, hey, don't be a douchebag and just post everything we do on our blog because you look like a douchebag. Bring up a topic around this and let other people answer it for you. And maybe some point, you know, if that one really takes off, we can push that to the blog team, et cetera, et cetera. You know, so A-level stuff you push to the blog, the evergreen team, which would be resources, FAQs, evergreen stuff, right? B-level stuff you push to the blog team, and C-level stuff you push to the social team. You know what I'm saying? So, so you base that knowledge set even on your own as you're gathering it. You decide where you're going to put it strategically on your content strategy based upon how prevalent that topic is. So again, I'm just, because I'm a search guy, so I always think categorically. I always think in terms of concepts. So I'm not worried about the questions. I'm worried about the answers and what part of the team I can push that to. You know?
So again, I want to just like hear you say that again. Like, what do you push to the social? Like, what would you push to the community manager?
Okay. So again, Kristin. So I've talked to the sales team. I've talked to the customer service department. I've talked to and then I've done my own BuzzFeed shit and buzz monitoring on Quora, Yahoo Answers, whatever. So concepts start to emerge. Let's go with the auto guy. So it's the auto industry. You know, it's not about how to change a tire on a Ford Taurus, or how to change a tire on a this and that, or how to change a. It's the concept of changing a tire that I'm looking at. It's not the model I'm looking at, because we have thousands of models and parts. So I can't get that finite. I can't get that far into it. Then you talk to the customer service team. And the customer service team is going to tell you where there's problems with our products. So from them, I'm going to learn which products, which makes and models become important. Then I talk to the sales team, which is driven by someone above them trying to sell a product, which are the most important products we're pushing, so on and so on. So out of that, you get a sense of which how-tos are important, which makes and models have the most returns, meaning customer service, meaning where do we have unhappy customers, and which makes and models and so forth and parts and pieces are we getting from the sales team because they're trying to push something. So you start to realize which of the, you get a scale of what's important. So how-tos and stuff like that, usually speaking, the Quora and the Yahoo Answers and shit like that tends to be the stuff you push through social because they're smaller numbers. So evergreen is like how-tos and resource articles and stuff that isn't in your blog. They're in a separate section on the site. So evergreen stuff you're going to rank for a long time. Blog stuff you're going to rank for a short time. Anything tertiary beyond that, you're not really going to rank for. It's not worth putting investment into those two things. So that's where you push it through the social channel, because that just creates interest, because that's what's temporal. Back to, you know, I adapt my social to, because I'm a search geek, to the QDF, Query Deserves Freshness. Just because everyone's talking about that this week doesn't mean they're going to be talking about it 6 months from now or a year from now, right? So evergreen content can't be that. That's social. Okay, if it's, you know, there's a recall from Ford this week, that's something I'm going to push through fucking social. You know what I mean? Because that's a temporal thing. It's short term. It's not going to last the test of time. So that would, you know, but if it is something long term, then like, you know, how to change tires on a 1976 Ford Taurus. Well, fuck me. No one's going to want to talk about that on social, right? That's going to be evergreen content. That's going to be an FAQ.
But
So that's definitely, and blog content is somewhere in the middle. Do you understand, Kristin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've got something that's going to last the test of time here, something that's short-term concept here. So that's social, this is evergreen. Blog content comes somewhere in the middle. If it's not quite temporal on the social scale, but it's not quite evergreen, meaning it's going to last the test of time, that's a concept or a topic I would put on the blog. So you
and that should be written by who?
A writer.
I've got to say,
always look at the writer's stuff after the fact. The most important thing I ever give the blog writers is fucking, or even the dev team, take the tags out, because that's what creates duplicate content and all kinds of panda problems. Like, tags are the worst thing you could ever give a blogger. Bad idea. Because they don't know how to classify stuff. They'll make, or at very least, set the tags so that you cannot be edited. They have this many tags to choose from, that's it. You know, because if you let your blogger freely write, but also give them free reign on tags, they'll add a whole bunch of tags and you'll end up with all these duplicate pages all over the fucking place. So, anyway,
some people really get carried away. Some people really get carried away with tags, don't they, Kristin?
Oh, God, Jesus Christ.
That's that a little bit.
Anyway, so Kristin, consider if it's highly temporal, Kristin, it's got to go to the social team. Okay, if it's something that is going to stand the test of time, it's got to be evergreen content. We used to call it. I don't know what they call it today, but whatever. It's FAQs, resource article documents, shit like that. If it's something that's in between the two, you give it to the blog team. And that's not just SEO. That's just usability. That's just understanding how to understand the content you're creating, the strategy you're putting together.
And of course, if you have like a small startup, then the blog team and social is going to be like one and the same, right?
No, you can never have that. Never ever treat any arm of marketing as one and the same. This is the problem I have with Jason Demir's article, is that he thought that was all just ubiquitous and that it all bleeds into each other, which it does. But you can't conceptually treat it that it does. You need to understand them on separate levels and need to understand them as what they are and what problems they serve. You know, your blog, your social, and your evergreen need to be conceptualized separately. The fact that they bleed into each other is neither here nor there. And that's what Jason Demers was trying to say.
I'm different there, Dave, because I tend to blog evergreen.
Yeah, see, I don't believe that because I believe the Google algorithms actually treat them separately.
For me, the status of evergreen or not is going to be, does this stand the test of time? Is this something I'm still going to be dropping links to in 2 years' time?
Yeah, what's the difference between a blog post and a fucking evergreen? What's the one big difference?
None for me. Because I'm not one of those ones who...
Dates. Do you remember a year and a half, 2 years ago, when fucking, you know Viper Chill is?
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay. He fucked around with blog dates, and he realized, and I don't know if it's still the case, I haven't seen a more recent study, so I'm just talking 2 years ago, that if you change dates on blog shit, it would QDF its way back up.
Mm-hmm.
That's if your blog has dates on it.
Evergreen stuff, that resource material does not have dates, and I truly believe that still makes a difference. Because I remember when the first blog patents came out, spam blog patents came out, that was a huge thing. Anyways, that's just an opinion.
That's the most annoying thing to me, like, on going on anyone's site ever, is not having dates. It's just because you don't know, like, where, like, when was this relevant, and it can really mess people up when they're trying to do research.
Those people that retweet the same crap over and over every other week.
A few, like 4 years ago, Kristin, before Viper Chill did his study, I had someone come to us that was in the dojo, and he was getting fucked up by syndication. So I emailed Matt, and I was like, Matt, how do we deal with this? Because he was getting syndicated by some spots, and essentially what was happening was he would put something out on his blog, or his client's blog. Anyways, his client would put something out. Problem was, it was getting syndicated through RSS. So Huffington Post was grabbing it, and because Huffington Post was a higher authority, they were getting and quicker, and so essentially they were getting fucked for their own content. So I talked to Matt. Remember this one, Terry? and Matt's advice was, well, is there a way you can delay the RSS feed? And I was like, dude, it's through Google. It was through fucking feed. What was it? MN feed reader, FeedBurner.
Oh, yeah.
It was through FeedBurner. Anyways, and I was like, well, it's your fucking app, dude. What are you telling me, man? It's your app. Why don't you understand the difference? So, you know, it's happening with Facebook a couple of years after that, and another person. So I talked about, and they at that point, and this is like 2.5, 3 years ago, Google was still having a problem with attribution. Attribution means attributing the content to the original source. And they still had that problem at that time. And Matt's only answer was, oh, delay the feed. It's like, well, we're not set up for that. How do you, I don't know. It's going through FeedBurner, for fuck's sakes. You guys own it. So Google can often attribute shit to the first source found, regardless if if you think it's a good idea, which is a simple letter to anyone watching this now, or just since no one's watching now, we're just sitting here battling like idiots. If you're going to publish a blog post, publish that blog post, keep putting the title into Google with site, your site domain, and title of that post. And as soon as it comes up in Google, then put it on Facebook. Do not put it on Facebook for that. Or else Facebook will get the attribution for that.
Oh, wow.
I gotta say, the dates thing, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that. I remember that experiment.
No, I have no recent evidence.
It was getting it recrawled, it was playing with a freshness boost, but if your site content, its major ranking effect is a freshness boost, you've got authority problems. If you've got a good authority domain, that freshness boost is nothing.
That's again, you have to, SEO's not cookie cutter, my friend. So yeah, what I was talking about is more for a small, that doesn't have the authority that they're getting crawled every 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like my clients now, they're getting crawled every 5 fucking minutes. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. But I'm more talking about, and I hope I'm on the same line you are. I'm talking more about people just trying to get ahead.
The biggest thing that's changed for me in the past 5 years is the number of clients that come to me. And it used to be a client would come to you and they've got a site that hardly answers anything. It didn't have enough content. And the first thing you'd have to do is say, look, you need more content. You're going to have to create content. Over the past 5 years, more and more often, clients are coming to me and I'm saying, right, the first thing you're going to have to do is ditch 2/3 of your content because you've got 20,000 pages because of all these blog posts and news updates that other SEO agencies have told you need. They've told you need to blog regularly.
I believe.
And you have the domain authority to get 1,000 pages regularly indexed, and you've got a 20,000 page site.
I'm a huge believer in consolidating content. And is that what you're saying, Bill? Like meaning,
yeah,
when I come on the scene, we've got like over the last 5 years, we've got 5 fucking blog articles about the same topic. I believe in consolidating those 5 into one article and then 301ing the rest of them. Do you believe in that, or?
Often, yeah, and I'm ruthless as well. I mean, if you've been quite regularly, most of your content probably has hardly any links because 1 in 10 posts does really well. 8 in 10 may get nothing really apart from
the reason I like it
yourself.
Is, and I wish Bill was here because one of the reasons I like that is because another bizarre little known fact that people don't understand is updating content. Like you could have a blog post from 5 years ago about the 1976 World Summit Series in hockey, but if you update that just with a paragraph here and there, it refreshes that. You know what I mean? And those are quite evident in so many Google patents. That's why I said I wish Bill was here. But that is evident across so many patents that updated content, again, puts itself back in that QDF framework. You know what I mean? It refreshes content, even though, like if you, Kristin, for you at least, since you're our nubile or whatever, if you've got a piece of content that's been doing well for you, but you go back and update it, it'll do even better. And that's very.
I've seen Ian Cleary do that, and it's really cool to, like, when I'm trying to research, like, say, social automation, and I'll see something, then I can see that he's updated it. Not only has he updated it, but I've got a
better way to explain it to you, actually.
It's like 2012.
Kristin, I've got a better way to explain it to you, because you have so many children. No, okay, you have six?
Yeah.
Yes? All right. It's like 6 children, and you haven't paid attention to one child for a while. And then all of a sudden you decide to pay attention to that child. That relationship increases and gets better. There's more trust. There's more love there. Because you oh my God, I've been neglecting you. And so now you give that attention. Because I know your time's so divided between your work and your kids and everything else. I'm a parent as well. And when you give that, you realize that all of a sudden there's that one child you haven't been giving attention to. You give more attention to it, all of a sudden that relationship sparks up again. That's almost the same as how Google treats content to a degree. We lost Emma. The historical patents, Google had a set of them. And the historical patents were an incredible thing that never went away from me. And what it is essentially is that if someone just leaves a piece of content and never touches it again, well, if they don't care about it, why should I? You know? Which is, in our parenting discussion, if you've got a child and you don't pay attention to them, well, mom doesn't care about me, why should I care about mom? Right? Right? You've gone through that, I'm assuming, with 6 kids. So you need to, when you start to pay attention to that child again, then all of a sudden that child cares about you more. You know, and that's the way Google looks at content. That when you lose that, when Google doesn't, if Google doesn't think you care about that piece of content, then why should Google care? You know, if you've left it alone for 4 years and haven't touched it, then why should, you know, you don't care about it, why should we care? It's almost like that.
So, like, what's the best practice for updating to let Google know that you're giving an update?
Again, you really, as someone that's trying to make their way, you really have to care about what makes the client money at the end of the day.
But I mean, like, do you go in and manually update the date?
My point is, don't update content for the sake of it. That makes no sense.
Right.
You have to know what the client's goals are, where they make their money, and what they're trying to do. And once you have that, then you can revisit the content they put out in the past. But to start with, you got to know where they're making the money and what's important to them. You know what I mean? Because that's all that matters. You know. Terry gave me that. Greatest, Terry, I love you, man. He's looking at the window. Terry, I gotta say, man, like, you know, where my life's at, the greatest gift I ever got was from Terry, which was follow the money. And as long as I always pay attention where my clients make money and what's important to them, and not as much the latter. You know, what's important to them, they can be misguided at times. As long as I always follow where they make money and I follow that path and that trail, from SEO to social to content to whatever, as long as I follow where they make money, and I make them more money than they made before me, and make them more money more than I'm charging them, I'll always have a job. And Terry taught me that, and that's because when I met Terry, I was a euphemistic search marketer. I was just a guy that, I just want rankings, and I just want to, you know, I thought that showing #1 rankings was how I'd show my success, and that has nothing to do with anything. Nope. My clients want to make money, and as long as I make them money, they're keep me on. So. Thank you, Terry.
Went both ways. I learned things from you too, so that's the good thing is, you know, if you're going to partner up with someone, Not good to partner up with someone who's stupider than you.
You let them be the third wheel.
Third wheels are useless. I can't feed my kids or pay my rent, mortgage for that, man.
I was referring to like what you and Terry are doing with me, because I was stupider than you.
No, she's stupider is an unfortunate term. No, seriously, Kristin. Intelligence is what you do with the information you have. Wisdom is just experience. What you're talking about is knowledge. Knowledge is a useless term because I've met lots of people in the 25 years I've been self-employed, and I've met lots of people that have knowledge, that are smarter than me. They have lots of knowledge, but do they use it? Think of intelligence like this. This person has this much knowledge, I have this much knowledge. I use 3/4 of it, they use 1/4 of it. I'm more intelligent than they are. They may have no more knowledge, but I'm more intelligent because I'm using more of it. Wisdom is just experience. So smarter is a word that people use, and I'm not a fan of it. Smarter just means you have no more knowledge. But knowledge can be useless unless you actually implement it, unless you do something with it. So, and that's intelligence and wisdom. So, fuck knowledge. Well, knowledge is a misnomer. It's useless.
Knowing a whole bunch of stuff, if you can't use it, it's not you. It's not really good knowledge, then, is it? If you can't.
I mean, lots of people that are smarter than me, Kristin. They just don't use it.
Well, I think like there's probably stages too, right? Like I'm in a knowledge-seeking stage where I'm trying to acquire skills and
you're
things to know.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to turn off this broadcast. Anyone there's still some people watching. If you want, there's a link to join us, and goodbye.